everybody. I'm Nicole.
And I'm Lindsay, and together we're the co-founders of Whale Tales, a living library of cetacean stories.
Today, we welcome back our favorite friend.
It's Ashley!
Hi, guys.
Hello, yay! So sit back and enjoy as we dive right in. Doodaloo.
Hooray!
So, we're very excited that Ashley's here, but our regular listeners might be like, but what about Sarah? What happened to Sarah?
Cut her out of the intro.
Yes, Sarah is unfortunately not feeling well today, and we have already moved things around a couple of times to fit Ashley's schedule, because you're very popular and busy, Ashley. So unfortunately...
Sometimes.
All the time. Always popular. Maybe sometimes busy. So we have had to unfortunately not include Sarah today. We miss her terribly, and we also hope that she is feeling better soon. And Ashley, I'm sure especially she misses you the mostest.
Absolutely. It's not the same.
No.
Well, I know. But I think we can persevere.
I mean, I love both of you just as equally, but you know.
Thank you. But we're gonna persevere, and we're
there's
gonna.
a hole when one of you is missing.
It's true. We're not a trifecta. It's weird. But
Yeah.
let's talk about the season.
All right. It's not quite finished yet, so there's still time for more excitement.
Ooh.
Yeah, and who knows? You never know what's going to happen. Every trip out is different, which has kept me doing it for as long as I have.
Which, how long is that now, Ash?
This is the end of my 12th season, so technically I've done it for 11 years, but this is my 12th year doing it, so
wow.
I always say it's my 12th season, because it is.
Wow.
It's 12
That's a lot of whales.
It's a lot of whales, yeah. And it never gets old.
Hooray!
So,
That's the best.
That's the best. The whales never disappoint.
Yeah.
Even when they're sleeping.
Yeah.
Even when customers are like, when are they gonna jump?
Mm-hmm.
You're like, they're amazing right now. Can you just look at these whales that you are here with?
Well, when Sarah and I went out in Oregon, we talked about it last episode, the guy, I think he'd been doing it for 40 years, and he was just like, so what do you want to know? Like, he didn't have a spiel anymore, he was just over it, because it's also Depot Bay, and they go out 7 times a day, I think, something ridiculous, because it's only 10 minutes to the whales. And so he's like, what do you want to know?
Yeah,
he's like, these are gray whales.
Just tell me.
Do you have any questions? Otherwise, I'm just going to stand here. Because I'm so done with giving my spiel.
I mean, I can sort of get that, because I still have a spiel, but I try to alter it a little bit here or there. Especially if I've got passengers that have come out with me before. I'm like, oh man,
yeah,
I've heard everything.
Well, at least you get different species.
True.
Yeah, absolutely, and different animals. So, some of these animals I do legitimately have stories with. It's not just. In my intro on the way out, when I'm doing the whale spotting tutorial and making myself look like a fool. But I love it. I wouldn't change my intro, and nobody else does it like me. Even when I've trained people, I don't think anybody else copies my intro for how to spot whales, which is fine by me, because it's my thing.
Yeah.
But at 42 years old, I still do these jumps. And that might sound weird, because you're like, what? You just talked about how don't expect whales to jump. It's not even about whales jumping. It's about how big humpback exhales are. And I try to show them how big they are. And I can't physically jump high enough, but I still jump to kind of show. So that's the fool in me, but I love it.
I love it.
And I don't think anybody else has actually copied me on that, which is hilarious to me, because they've copied so much other stuff when I've trained people. You can go out and you can hear, almost word for word some of the things that I've said in the past, which is great, because it means that they're saying accurate things.
Which is true. That's important.
Accuracy.
Do you have a height, a number on how of meters? How big whale blowers are? I don't think I know this.
I think I did recently, but I can't remember.
Okay.
But like I know that I physically can't jump that
Oh yeah,
high.
no. Like I know that they're very large, but I don't think I've ever thought about
They're very large.
how tall they actually are. Interesting.
No, I think I did see that recently though. There's a couple of things I learned this year that shocked me.
Nicole, get your fun flipper fact notebook out.
Well, but it could be a fun flipper fact that you guys already knew. Who knows?
That's highly doubtful.
Yeah. You probably know more than we do about many things.
Well, this one's about porpoises. I feel like you guys might have more porpoise knowledge than I do.
I feel like my porpoise knowledge is very specific, but not helpful.
Well, I'll just say it because we're on it right now.
Yeah,
but
okay.
what I learned about porpoises this year was that they've got a serrated edge on the front of their dorsal fin. So they've got tubercles, like humpbacks have tubercles, to increase aerodynamics in the water when they're traveling.
What?
And I actually got photos of harbor porpoise this year up by Halibut Bank where you can clearly see the serrations.
Crap.
Whoa.
And I was like, I've been doing this for how long? And I had no idea.
That's crazy.
And like I'd just seen something on Facebook on like one of the naturalist pages. Somebody had posted something about porpoises and their tubercles on their dorsal fin, and I was like, huh? What? I never heard this before. And then like a week or two later, I was with like tons and tons of harbor porpoise on Halibut Bank in like glassy seas, and we shut down and they didn't care that we were there, and so we had some surfacing really close to us, and so I got some photos, and like it's shocking. I was just like, what? Like you look at them and you think it's smooth.
Yeah.
You think it's like the front of it. Well, now I'm like worried that orcas somehow have serrations.
I think you probably
Like,
would have
I have
noticed.
well, and the thing is, I have close photos of orca dorsal fins, and I've not seen it. So I'm pretty confident that they don't. But I'm like, what is happening in my world?
Okay, so here's my problem with this because you're blowing my mind.
Okay,
I have
it blew mine too.
harbor porpoises in my arms.
I will send you photos.
Maybe
I will send you photos.
Maybe it's
They have
maturity thing.
That was what I was about to ask. I was like, considering this is relatively.
Well, see, here's the thing. I don't have all the details clearly.
Yes, because the two that I held were juvenile, like not even juveniles. They were calves. They were like newborn, weeks old calves.
So you weren't part of the Levi team?
No, so I didn't work with Levi. I was Daisy and Jack back when they were both like in the rescue center, and so
I mean they're tiny tubercles, but they're there.
But like I would be, I mean, Grant, I was holding them from underneath. I was holding them ventrally, but I was I was holding them up for like hours at a time, looking at their backs.
Were you focused on their dorsal fin, though?
No, I was very much focused on their breathing and also being very cold.
Exactly. So they might also have it. I mean, that's definitely something to look into now.
I am floored. I'm completely floored.
I will make sure there's a photo available.
Excellent.
So I guess that's something that we'll have to look into further. But yeah, I'll definitely have a photo for you guys.
Well, already, Ashley, you've been worth the price of admission to our podcast, which is free, but you've been worth it. So Ashley, let's start with like highlights. What were some of the highlights of the season for you?
Oh gosh. Highlights. We had one day where we had, I think it was every single member of the 124As. So like the A2s, the A4s, I think even A1. Yeah, they were coming up through Sansom, and they were just on fire. Like they just had beans in their bodies. Like they were they were active the entire time. This was also a day where we had a morning trip and an afternoon trip, and when we got with them in the afternoon, they were still going. So like hours and hours and hours. Our morning trip was the best. Well, yeah, I'd say it was the best, but they were still amazing in the afternoon too. Yeah, like breeches, lots of on the belly or on the back double pec slaps, lots of tail slaps. It was just, they just didn't stop like the whole time we were with them. And the conditions there were glassy too. So I've had a few really cool glassy calm days where things were interesting. Getting to see those harbor porpoise was pretty crazy. And I got to this year, like I actually got to send harbor porpoise pictures into porpoise.org.
Awesome.
And they were super keen on it when they saw those photos because like obviously you don't often get some like really close up crystal clear porpoise photos. So yeah, they were excited to get those, which was really, really awesome. What else? We had Indy doing Indy craziness again this year. We had well, I personally had, I think, five moms with baby humpbacks.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And I think of those, I think I got at least 3 really good calf fluke photos, which is exciting.
Oh, yeah.
I'm always... If you come on a boat with me and the whales aren't fluking, you will hear me beg every time. It was like, please, 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 please show your tail. I think my passengers think it's funny. I think. We had Pop-Tart with her baby, and her baby was just reaching out of the water like crazy.
So happy, and also terrifying that Pop-Tart is old enough to have a baby, because I feel like that just happened, even though it was like 7 years ago.
True. However, who is it? I think, is it Olympus and Seabird who returned with babies, and one of them is 5 and the other is 6?
Whoa.
Oh my.
That's what was happening down there last summer?
I don't know, but I'm like, that means they were pregnant at 4 and 5.
Yeah.
Which I guess we've sort of alluded to it, but I'm just keeping in mind our listeners who aren't necessarily as familiar with the locals as we are. We are currently talking about humpback whales.
Humpbacks, yeah. Yes. My apologies.
No worries, it's all good. I got swept up and then was like, oh wait.
Like, wait a minute, I better clarify. Yeah. So, which is kind of crazy because like our standard life history talk about humpbacks is that they reach maturity at about 7, which I mean it is at about 7, so it's not like that's a hard and fast number. And I mean even with our orca, we always say between 12 to 15 years of age, but then we've had 10-year-olds have babies, so it's similar to us, right? Like there's early bloomers, there's late bloomers. Look at how long it took Anvil to show up with a baby, humpback wise. I mean, we all suspected that she was a girl for ages and ages because of how massive she is, but until she showed up with a baby, we weren't like 100% sure. I will say, I did a count, and I was kind of shocked actually. I got to hang out with 38 different Biggs orca families or solo whales. So I split it into I just made a list of, all the groupings. So if they're a solo, that's a family in that list.
Wow.
So 38 different families or solos, and 76 different humpbacks so far.
Holy shit.
Yeah, that I've personally gotten to see. So that's not including all the other ones that are out there that other boats have seen, but I haven't.
That's
I don't get jealous
that's a lot.
at all. Yeah, I was shocked. I was I don't know what I after counting, I'm like, I don't even know what I thought I was at, but I did not think I was that high. And as I was making the list and writing out the humpback names in particular, I was like, what, this list is still going.
Still going.
Okay, I have more. Trying to find a spot on my sheet to add more names.
That is
It's like,
so
oh god.
cool.
Yeah, it was a really cool season for a few different reasons. I mean, obviously, the humpbacks weren't as late as they were last year, which was phenomenal. I've gotten to see a few individuals that I've never met before, which is awesome. And one of the highlights of my season so far is the number of times I've gotten to see Chainsaw and his mom, the Bigs. Yeah.
Yes.
I've gotten to see them 7 times this year.
I feel like Chainsaw was around a lot more this year than he normally is.
Yeah. I'm gonna pull out how whale nerdy I am right now. I've never had a whale boyfriend like most of my colleagues have. Chainsaw is officially my whale boyfriend now because
Hooray! I'm so happy for you too.
Thank you. I think I'm gonna get a chainsaw tattoo.
Amazing.
It's a good choice.
It's a great choice, yeah. So the reason he is getting top billing right now is, and probably for the rest of time, is so I mean, I always want to see those two. I always want to see him and his mom. But it was funny because there was a number of times where we got word that he was in the area with some other whales and that there was another group somewhere else and we were heading to the other group and he would show up and block us from going to the other group.
Oh my goodness.
And I was like, oh, and it was like one day, they were reported kind of off of Gabriola, and the T125A and T128 Flotsam and Jetsam were closer when we got the report, so we were heading towards them. They were like just in Gabriola Pass or something like that, or somewhere on the inside of the Gulf Islands. And so I was like, well, that'll be great because I haven't seen them. So even though I want to see Chainsaw, I haven't seen these boys. And they were with some other whales too. And it was like the first whale that showed up was Chainsaw. And he like showed up very close to our boat without us noticing. And it was like, he was like, excuse me, you are not going to see any of the other boys out here. I am here. You are hanging out with me. And I was like, yes, sir.
Yeah. Got it.
So he's my whale boyfriend now.
That's perfect.
It's perfectly acceptable. It's a cool choice.
It's like everybody else can keep Stanley. They can keep Jack. I don't need those boys. I got me.
Stanley might be mine.
Chainsaw. Yeah, and Stanley's fantastic. He's a great guy. We've only seen them, or I've only seen them twice this season. Which is insane because they used to be like them and the 137s were the whales to see in this area.
Yeah, that's why he's mine, because he was always the one who I saw. It was like, they're like, there's killer whales over there. I'm like, is there 3 or 4 of them, depending on what year it was? And I was like, yeah, that's who they are.
That's who it is.
1 big one, 2 tiny ones. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and even the 137s, which are usually pretty common up here, I've only seen them four times this year. And a couple of times so I will say, Jack and Wright have very special places in my heart just because they're so quirky and precocious. And Wright absolutely takes after her big brother. And the last couple of times we saw them, those two were traveling together, and Mom and Tempest were either nowhere to be found or with another group around an island. It was really funny. I think they're back together now, but I'm not sure.
Speaking of big guys and their moms, as I was looking at your page and the encounter you had in August with Galliano, and he's so big.
I know. He's massive, hey?
Like his pecs are, I don't even know, like the size of my couch. I don't know. They're so big.
Yeah, I mean, what I usually say to people when they're on board is, if I talk about male pectoral fins, which I do every once in a while, but not every trip. See, I change it up.
There you go.
Is like that they're basically the same size as like a minivan door.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Maybe a little bit smaller, but basically.
Oh, that's such a good analogy, Ashley.
Who do you think is the biggest male bigs right now?
Rainy. T11.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, T11A, not
T11A. Yeah, that would be a phenomenon.
Oh, Gary's slapping me right now.
Yeah. Well, his dorsal is insane. Rainy's.
Yeah,
not
well,
Gary's.
they did. No. I mean, if Gary had a dorsal. They did photogrammetry on him. So I think he was measured at just over 27 feet long.
Jesus.
He's the biggest in the Salish Sea. Or at least he was as of the last measuring. Maybe Galliano's. Yeah. Maybe it's time they did some more.
I'm sure they're working on it. They have other things going on.
They shouldn't. I'm just kidding.
There's a lot of whales out there.
Always want to know.
Yeah.
A lot of whales and only like what, 3 drones? We got.
Oh, yeah. I know. We need more. Well, we need more permits to be able to do that kind of stuff too.
But wasn't it? I think Lance said that the permits way more than the drones.
That's funny.
Probably.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. Okay, so what else did you see? Killer whales and humpbacks, whatever. They're not important to our fans.
Yeah, your fans hate those. I was gonna say them, and then I said those, but I made it sort of a double then those word together. Sorry about that. Classic. We had a couple of gray whales this year early on. I don't think we've had anything else cetacean wise. I was hoping we'd get Rizzos again, but didn't happen.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, because they hold a special place in my heart, and I know it's been harder and harder and harder to see them, which is one of the crazy, like, just in my lifetime can see the effect of whatever, whether it's climate change or what. Did you see any dolls?
I haven't seen dolls for a number of years.
I know.
There was a report of a few of them a couple of days ago.
Where?
I don't remember. Somewhere in BC. It was
well,
the first time I'd seen something about them all summer.
It's like we go up north in BC. It's just we haven't seen
I mean, even just a little bit further, like towards Campbell River and that, there's more dolls up there. If you go south a bit too, though, like Boundary Pass, Harrow Strait, Strait of Juan de Fuca, there seems to be reports every once in a while of some dolls. But yeah, otherwise it's all harbors up here. And it's hard to say, like, is it, because, I mean, yeah, it's sort of crazy because it used to be, there was way more dolls that you would see than you would see harbor porpoise. And slowly it's just the complete reversal. It's more, way, way, way more harbor porpoise. And it's hard, like, you can't say that there's a correlation, but it sort of feels like there's a correlation just because of how it's worked out. But yeah, I miss them. I miss them a lot. Mind you, I also have a much bigger camera now, so it would be harder to photograph them. which is my top concern always.
Yeah. So sorry, I interrupted you because I care about dolls, but you were hoping to see those and didn't see any.
Yeah. I mean, obviously they're not really supposed to be in here, so it's probably a good thing, but yeah. And I wish that we would see Pacific whitesides down here more often, but that seems to be just a winter thing in, like, my local area.
Yeah.
Super
Super
of course,
random.
when we're closed. Why not when we're closed?
Yeah.
Don't do it while we're whale watching. Oh, I forgot about a really cool thing that happened this year.
Yay!
We had a day not too long ago. I'm just trying to pull it up here. It was September 24th. We had got word that the Prince of Wales guys had picked up some orca kind of up by Halibut Bank, and they were interacting with humpbacks. And so we tried to quickly get on scene, and same thing, we got on scene and they were still milling around each other. Windy was in the mix. Windy was not impressed that the orca was there. Lots of trumpeting, lots of tail slashing. Monarch and Velvet were in the mix too, and so it was they were sort of circling each other. So it was definitely, I think, started out with the humpbacks harassing the orca like normal. That sounds weird to say like normal, but it is. And then it was almost like the orca just didn't care. They were, and then there was some moments where they were all like mixed in together, and it was like, I don't know if the orca were just maybe antagonizing the humpbacks a little bit after being harassed, but they were all in a kerfuffle.
Amazing.
And it was great.
Which orcas was
the
it?
T2Cs and the T2Cs and the 124Ds.
It's interesting. What were the humpbacks doing all together?
I mean, they've been sort of, there was, so up in the like higher Strait of Georgia, higher Strait. I'm clearly on my game tonight. The sort of northern section of Strait of Georgia. There's been a lot of humpbacks just sort of in that area. Not every day, but most days the last little while. I keep missing like the really cool events, like Anthony from Prince of Wales got to see like called us on the radio. We were hanging out with two humpbacks, and he's like, "You guys need to get over here." And he had like 6+ humpbacks like lunge feeding together. Oh my god! As soon as we get there, they'd sort of spread out a bit, but it was still cool. You could see humpbacks everywhere.
Yeah.
I was like, missed the lunge feeding, dang. But yeah, it's been wild for humpbacks. They came in so early in such great number that we thought that we were maybe not going to see them as much.
That they were going to leave earlier.
Like we thought maybe they came in early and we're going to leave early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that hasn't really happened.
Hooray!
What I am very excited about is that I can't remember if I said it at the end of last year, but in our chat, but a bunch of us thought that that Zigzag was pregnant last year, and she was one of the ones that showed up with a baby.
Hooray!
Yeah. And this year we've all sort of been talking that we think Divot and Raptor are like a little pregnant mamas club because they've been hanging out a fair bit together. So we'll see if we can.
Yeah,
we're proved correct next year. Yeah, I mean it's hard to say, but like they didn't have a calf this year, and next year will be year 2. So I mean it makes sense. I mean 2 to 3 years is pretty average, but I don't know. We all just had a feeling. It wasn't even about timing with Zigzag last year. It was just, I don't know, the way she was behaving just felt, I'm full of baby. I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to do anything. And I think we're sort of getting the same vibe from Divot and Raptor this year. So hopefully we'll see see babies from
I
them
like
next
that
year.
they had each other at least.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Zigzag
that's
was
nice.
all on her own last year, poor lady.
Yeah.
But yeah, Zigzag or Divot and Raptor are totally just buddy at the moment,
Aww.
which is really cool. Yeah. Oh, one of I got very excited this year because one of my favorite humpbacks is Strike, and she showed up with a baby this year.
Ooh.
I didn't get to, I think I saw her twice this year, so I'm a little bit sad that I didn't get to hang out with her and her baby a bit more, but I did get a really good fluke photo of her
Nice.
baby. They came into House Sound one day, and I got some good baby tail shots.
I was in House Sound so much this year. What the hell?
You didn't see any humpbacks?
No. Actually, I did have 2 fairy encounters, which I haven't had in a while. Yeah,
Nice.
which is nice. But just this weekend.
Nice.
Well, right coming out of Horseshoe Bay, there was 2. But
I want to say Raptor
but still.
Divot.
Probably. Well, they were doing a lot of peg slapping. So if you're talking about
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
I mean,
okay,
I've
it
seen
might have been
that.
them.
So we it's really trying to think. I don't know if it was Raptor and Divot the day that I had Raptor just do some really cool. She got kind of active. Did a couple of tail throws, and then was doing some pec slaps one day. So not every day, but not when everybody's around. But yeah, so it's definitely possible. The other thing that was really interesting, we had Cassiopeia sort of shadowing them by like 500 meters one day. So just like every time we thought he was leaving, they would also turn direction. So it was sort of like he was either anticipating, or they were each kind of keeping track of each other, but staying about 500 meters apart. It was really interesting. He's just a boy keeping an eye on the girls.
Yeah.
Maybe trying to get a bit of an early fin up on who
Head
you might
start.
want to mate with when they all get down south.
Like,
Yeah.
are you looking for an escort to the breeding grounds?
Yes.
Let me assist.
Let me assist. Yeah, he's going through his
I can
catalog
help.
of eligible
Yeah.
ladies
Yeah.
for this season. So yeah, we know that the rules have changed, and you're not allowed to watch them, but did you guys encounter any Southern residents this year?
We didn't. So there was one day where I think somebody had reported them coming up, and I can't remember. It might have been Powell might have spotted them. They might have been out earlier and spotted them, and then reported them, and we tried to keep higher and keep away from them. We were hanging out with some humpbacks, and I mean, we were very, 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 very far away from them, but you could see their dorsal fins on the horizon, and so that was the only encounter. But I mean, it's amazing how much my passengers were enthralled, even with just those little tiny dorsal fins on the surface. Like, I mean, I go hard on that talk too. Like, I talk really openly about how we don't know where we are with that population. We don't know if there's still hope, or if we're just clinging to a dream, which, you know, like, we're all hoping that's not the case. We all hope that there is a future for these animals, but we don't know. And I don't shy away from that with my passengers, and I make it really clear that every time we get to see them, no matter how far away we are, like, that's an incredible gift. That we don't watch them anymore. We're not going to get any closer than what we are. And I don't even know. They were so far away from us. Like, so that's why I don't even count it as an encounter. Like, I didn't enter that as sightings data, because we were so far away from them. It wouldn't have been an accurate report. And we weren't with them. Like, we were probably 1,000 meters away. Like,
yeah,
it was like I did get some photos with my bazooka of a camera, but like they were so far away. Most of them aren't in focus. Like they weren't like. I was like, I've got a couple that worked out. Like you can see blackberry in the mix for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say you can always tell.
Yeah, you can always
boys.
find blackberry. Yeah. But yeah, like well, and the other day we had a report that the residents were coming up the strait, that the one of the Stevenson companies had seen them coming up. And then we got a report a little bit later that there was some orca pointed at the bell buoy off the North Arm, and the captain that was on board with me was like, it's going to be residents. I was like, well, what's the composition? And he's like, it was reported as all females. And I was like, well, the whales that we had yesterday, which were T's, were all females. And they were headed down that direction. So if the resis are coming up, those guys are going to have turned tail and gone the opposite direction. They're far enough away from the original report that it could be other whales, but it also could be the leaders of the residents. And he's like, it's just so much paperwork if we go. And I was like, I did the paperwork. It's not that much paperwork. Like that, I was in charge last year, so I was the one doing all the reporting. So like I'm fully aware of what the requirements are. But I was like, you don't have to, but I think it's worth investigating. And it was worth investigating because they were the T35As and the T38As. So he was like, yeah, I'm glad we went. I was like,
right.
Good, I'm glad you're happy. I'm glad I know what I'm doing.
That's always nice to be respected.
Yeah.
Can you speak to the paperwork? Because I think when the new regulations came out, we talked about it, but I think that was like 2 years ago now. So what is it that, like, aside from not actively watching and the distance, what is it that you have to go through if you happen upon the residents?
So there's a couple things. As soon as we see them, so like anybody who works within the Pacific Whale Watch Association, we all have our own app that's a private app for our sightings that we accumulate data and information for, that we can pass on to researchers and stuff. But if we see southern resident killer whales, it doesn't count for northern residents. Northern residents aren't in the same situation, so the restrictions do not include them. They're only for the southern resident killer whales. But when we're on scene with them, we have to report it on the RAS app, so the Whale Report app. So that's an immediate thing that has to happen. And of course, leave right away, slowly but purposefully. And then basically, when we're back, or once we let whoever's management know, they have to report it as soon as possible. It's not like a super rush for Transport Canada, but we have to report it to Transport Canada as well, let them know who saw them, like what vessel, who we saw, and where we saw them. And then I think at the end of the year, we have to do like another, like just full report of all the sightings. So even though we've already reported when it happens, or very shortly after those sightings have happened, then at the end of the year, there's like another like report that's like, please send us like every sighting that you had of these guys. So it's not crazy.
Yeah.
It's just an email. I think it's more complicated when we see them in American waters and have to go through the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife reporting. That one's a little bit more complicated, I believe, but the Transport Canada one's not too bad.
Nice.
So, yeah, not so difficult that, you know, it's not worth checking. Like, if you know, obviously, then don't go, because that would be breaking the rules. But if you're not sure, like, and it's better to be able to, especially if they're at the North Arm, like, when we were with the T-35As and the T-38As, there was a freighter just barreling in to English Bay. And, like, coming in closer to the North Arm than I think I've ever seen a freighter come in. I feel like they normally swing wider because they're not, you know, and he was going fast. And I didn't hear, the captain, get on the, VHF to alert that vessel that there were whales there. But I think some of my passengers heard the conversation and they were like, he did not sound happy. I mean, I get it. Time is money for them, but at the same time, it's like there's literally a voluntary slowdown in this area. Like, you get benefits if you slow down. Not, you know, but
also you're about to have to slow down anyway. You're about to go into a bay.
Not that far out. I don't even think he really adjusted. Like, those whales were swimming in that direction, and that freighter was not very far from, like, well inside, like, 50 meters of those whales. I'm pretty sure much less than that, but yeah, that was stressful. My passengers were stressed out. I was stressed out. But yeah, it's been a weird year. I think we've done more calls and horn blasts and hand waving to slow, you know, private vessels down. Cool.
Ashley, you sort of started to touch on it, but because we want to give our listeners a complete picture of what's going on in the Salish Sea when you come on, were there any other maybe more low lights or change that you observed this summer?
That's a good question. I don't know that there's been an overly noticeable change. I don't know. We haven't seen a whole lot of lunge feeding from the humpbacks, but I think that's just that the food is maybe a bit deeper right now, and like they still seem to be doing like circling behavior, and we've had some animals doing these weird thrashes through the water that you're like, are you okay? Or are you, what are you doing? But I think that maybe they were thrashing to get the food sort of corralled. I don't know. It was, there's been a few weird whale behaviors, but like the other day, I think it was a humpback named Eros. I didn't get to see Eros do this, but some of the other boats were like, he's thrashing around really strangely. And they sort of thought maybe he or she was entangled. But then they were acting normally again. So, and then I saw it a few days later. It wasn't doing anything overly weird. And then just yesterday, we had this other humpback. I think, it doesn't have a nickname yet, but it's BCX 1965, I think, was doing these weird, like, tail swishes, slashes, sort of slashing its pec fins at the surface, but not doing pec slapping, but, like, being upright and doing these weird, like, I don't know, just really weird motions. And you're like, what are you doing? I mean, I literally said that out loud in front of my passengers and be like, what are you doing? So yeah, some of the whales are weird this year. I almost wanted to be like, if this one doesn't have a nickname, we should call it like Wacko the Weirdo or something like that. It was very strange. But I think when I thought about it and kind of watched it a bit more, that's sort of what I thought maybe, like, are they trying out like a new feeding technique, a little herding? I don't know. It was really interesting. I haven't seen a whole lot of orca hunting this year, but at the same time, like I have seen hunts and they're all looking healthy. So I don't think anything's going on poorly with them either. I don't know. I haven't seen anything sad this year, which is great.
Hooray!
Yeah.
That is
so,
great.
yeah. I mean, I'm glad not to have something to share on that side of things.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Indy was still hanging out on his own, which is still weird to me. But
He's getting food, obviously, so...
Yeah. He did join up with his family again for like a day, and then he was off on his own. But it wasn't just his family. There was other whales there, too.
Well, you've already kind of blown our minds with one crazy fun flipper fact that I'm still reeling from. But before we do that, we're going to take a quick moment to talk to our listeners about how they can support the podcast and everything we do at Whale Tales. You can become a patron by visiting our website, patreon.com/whaletales, where we have 3 different levels of support for $1 a month or the porpoise level, $5 a month or the dolphin level, or $10 a month at the whale level.
Each level comes with a variety of perks, including polls, thank you postcards, access to extended interviews or stories with guests, and producing your own fun flipper fact segment of the podcast. Our whale level patrons also get access to a special Patreon podcast, Whale Tales Watches, in which we watch a movie that's marine themed and then discuss it. Our last one was The Meg 2, which was special. Coming up at the end of this month will be Orca, the movie from the 70s, 80s?
Yeah.
Which I haven't watched yet, and I'm nervous but excited.
Yeah. Have you ever seen it,
Yes,
Ashley?
the horror one.
I haven't. I've seen ads for it, and there's been talk about it on the Naturalist page over the years periodically. One day.
Well, listen to our Whale Tales watches and you'll hear all about it. None of us have seen it before, and we're all like really trepidatious about it.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's going to be absolutely epic. Just epically, horribly, awfully amazing.
Yeah. So if you're one of our patrons at the whale level, you have that to look forward to. And no matter what level you are, thank you so, so much to all of our patrons. You are incredible, and we truly couldn't do what we do without you.
Yes. If you aren't able to support us financially, there's still lots of things you can do to help us out. You can leave us a rating or review on your podcast platform of choice, like Apple Podcasts or Spotify, which will help other people find us. And you can also tell your friends, cetacean, science, nature, ocean, people. They want to come listen. So tell them about us.
Yeah, everybody loves whales. Just tell everyone.
I have never done this paragraph before. I'm just making it my own.
Plus, you can follow us on social media at whaletales_org and send us your feedback so that we can keep making the podcast even better. Okay, Ashley, are you ready to share another fun flipper fact? It's a short one. Short song today.
I gave you my best one. Gosh.
It was.
I mean, I only learned that this year too, so and it was quite funny because I told other people that are naturalists and they're like, sorry, what? So clearly a lot of people don't know about it. But it's, so I felt very privileged to be able to share that knowledge. I don't know if it's ever been said before, but humpback baby tails change a fair bit over the first year or two of life, so we don't actually categorize them until we've recited them after the fact, because and then like hopefully get new ID photos so that we can identify them forever.
Yay.
But yeah, they change a fair bit.
Yeah, I remember that with Pop-Tart because she was seen so much because she's got a famous mommy. And then she didn't have an ID because I just kept trying to add her ID number into our site along with her nickname. And I was like, come on, guys, give her an ID. But
well, we're all in a better spot for identifying them too, because now there's the CPHC, which is the Canadian Pacific Humpback Collaboration. It's a bunch of the NGOs for humpback research in this area that have all gotten together and are finally giving. Yeah, well, because it was all on DFO since 2010. Like we've all been waiting, and they haven't done any. So all the NGOs have kind of sort of tried to keep track of these animals, but we've each done it in our own ways. And so now DFO is also on board. So now we're able to give them BCX, BCY, BCZ numbers.
Oh, good.
So that that'll be coming out a bit more in all the different catalogs. Sadly, there's not one big public catalog just yet. That might happen. It might not. It's sort of, there's a lot of back and forth about that. But all of those BC numbers will be the same for the same animals in all of the catalogs that are out there.
That
Hooray!
awesome news.
Yeah.
And for our listeners, if you are curious, Happy Whale does list all the ID numbers that it knows of.
Yes.
So if you go and you search Big Mama, for example, you will see all of hers, including the ones that Happy Whale gives to them. Then I think that one's mostly for ones that they've seen, and also just for counting how many dang whales they got in that thing, because it's quite a lot now.
It's massive, yeah.
I also Googled it while we were talking, and humpback blows are about 3 meters high.
Oh yeah, you can't.
It's bigger than an orca dorsal fin, orca male dorsal fin.
Yeah, you can't jump that high.
Nope.
No, I cannot. I can't even jump in a male orca dorsal fin.
Well, it's good to have goals. You can jump a harbor porpoise dorsal fin height. So there you go.
Yes, I can. I can do that.
And you should be proud of that fact. Before we wrap, Ashley, what if you could tell our listeners, who some live by the ocean and some don't, one thing that you would like them to do to help whales, no matter which cetacean species we're talking about? What is your pick for a passion call to action today? I didn't intend for that to rhyme, but I love it.
Hey, that's how you get people hooked. Is those hard rhymes. I think one of the things that I always say to my passengers is that it starts with baby steps. If you go big, those are harder changes to maintain. If you're trying to change your behavior to be more sustainable, or, be more environmentally friendly. But it's finding those small things in your day-to-day life that you can comfortably change at the beginning. Bring a reusable water bottle with you, reusable coffee cup, reusable shopping bags. I think my biggest thing is there's always ways in our day-to-day lives to minimize our plastics use. You don't have to get rid of all plastics. Nobody's capable of that. It's there. It's in everything. But finding those ways that you can minimize your plastics use wherever you possibly can. I think sadly there's more things that we need to have happen changed at a corporate level in so many ways. But where we put our money and how we purchase things and what we're willing to spend our money on changes what corporations are willing to do as well.
Absolutely.
So if we're willing to buy things that are more environmentally friendly and sustainable, they're more willing to make those things.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I might have
Thank
said
you
that
for
before.
being here.
My pleasure.
I love
it's
being
been
here, Ashley. This is my favorite time of year. Thanks for always coming back to us.
The Ashley Roundup.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it.
And with that, do you have any last words to our listeners, Ashley?
I think just get outside. Get outside, go explore. My favorite thing to hashtag anything that I post is the wild awaits, because it does. I mean, obviously, again, leave only footprints, nothing else behind. But I think that we all connect more and want to protect more when we get out there and explore the world around us that isn't so human-centric. So get outside. Doesn't matter if you're close to the ocean or if you're in the middle of a landlocked continent. It's good for you. It gets you to breathe deeper. It gets you to relax and just be invested in the world around you that's not just humans.
That's very wise.
Yeah.
It feels weird.
All right. Well,
was that too much?
No,
I liked it.
It was absolutely perfect. And on that note, that's the end of our episode. So we'd love to hear your thoughts, listeners, on this episode or any episode that we've ever done ever. So please visit our website, whale-tales.org, and where you can find links to all of our social media handles so that you can drop us a line. We love hearing from you. It's the best part of our day. We've had a couple of like really, really special listeners reach out, comments and reviews, and even one listener sending us some handmade crafts this past month. And it like, I am so high on joy for days after each one that it's the very, very best.
It's
really awesome.
It's so sweet. So thank you.
You can also head to our site to subscribe to our podcast, learn about supporting us and becoming a patron, and check out almost 1,300 whale, dolphin, and porpoise stories, including all of Ashley's. She's got lots on there, including her boyfriend, and also Rainy.
I forgot I told you that already.
And remember, that's whale-tales.org. Tales like the story, not tales like the animal.
And if you've seen a cetacean, we would love to add your story to our library. Click on the share link on our website, contact us on social media at whaletales_org, or email us a voice memo and tell us all about your incredible encounter. Ashley, do you want to share your handles if anybody wants to check you out?
Sure. I haven't posted for a bit, but I am going to get back into it. So on Instagram, I'm at Vital Ocean. And then I did start a TikTok that is at Slow Mo Water, which I really like. And I actually just today, after going through some of my photos from the season, I think I'm going to start another Instagram that is going to be Splash Chronicles.
Nice.
And it's going to be, so it might not be everybody's cup of tea, but it's going to be sort of, you know, a lot of the breach sequence or tail slap sequence that we get. Some of the most amazing splashes happen at the end, and they are often extremely crisp, perfect photos. So I think I'm going to start a splash photo.
Well, I will maybe think about being back on social media again to look at that.
I love it. I will let you know when I start it so that you can peruse.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And finally, we want to acknowledge that we recorded today's episode on the unceded territories of the Coast Salish peoples, specifically the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations, as well as the homelands of the Tawasin First Nation. Thank you, everybody, so much. Thank you, Ashley, so much for being here.
Yay!
And my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And we hope you all have a whaley great day.